Welcome to Countdown to the End of Democracy, Episode 1. My name is Jack Willard, and this program here is off the beaten path. It won't get the views that when we do the pop culture shows, the live shows even, get. But nevertheless, this here is very important. It's kind of a snapshot of the time we live in. I'm doing this Christmas week 2023. Christmas is just a few days away. And there's so much going on in this world. We'll keep these shows relatively short. You may see them right after we do a show, or it could be in the future. But remember, it's a snapshot of the times we live in. Times that most of us never thought we'd see. We never thought we'd see a man be sworn in as the 46th President of the United States. And in less than 3 years, he has radically changed America. Oh, not just this old president, this old man, but the people around him. The good book says, in describing the Pharisees, in fact, it was Jesus who said it, they are a brood of vipers. And good men are saying nothing. We've never seen such an obvious example of someone wanting to keep their Senate seat or their congressional seat. They say nothing as America implodes. And all over the world, there's wars and rumors of wars. There's horrible death, horrible destruction, and those of us in our 60s, for example, are astonished, but at the same time not surprised at all, because it was all predicted. It's not going to get any better. If you hear someone say, perhaps a politician trying to get elected or stay elected, America's best days are ahead of us, don't believe it. They're past. And we might as well not lie to ourselves. We might as well face the truth. And that includes a full examination of our own failures. Imagine if there was an end-of-life movie review. We've heard that. We've heard that from people that have had near-death experiences. Would your end-of-life movie be a horror show? Would you cringe and want to hide your face? I would. Oh, it's not all been bad, but there are some rough spots, and there are a lot of them, actually. What about you? What about you? Are you that kind of person that does that kind of self-examination? Are you aware, or do you just kind of bury yourself in your phone, video games, television programs? All of that in moderation, I suppose, is fine. But when you live in times like this, you got to be on your toes, as they say. Preparation needs to be done. And I find that even in dark times like these, the last days, I am so easily distracted. As Paul McCartney said in Uncle Albert, the kettle's on the boil, and we're so easy called away. Snapshot of the times we live in. Well, the border's out of control now. There's no denying it. Thousands of people are arriving in states like Texas and Arizona every day, and other spots like California, of course. And they are being shipped to various big cities all over America. Cities that are in chaos. They don't know what to do with the influx of migrants. Texas Governor Abbott just today signed a law making it a crime to cross the Texas border into the United States. You can be arrested, and you can do even serious time, at the very least, sent back. Since the federal government has relinquished any serious action, has ignored the problem, it's left up to the governors. The ramifications of an open border, when you claim, of course, that it's not an open border, is that countries, cities, right here in the USA, are going bankrupt. They don't have the resources to take care. They don't have the space to put them. Cities like New York City are in serious trouble. Mayor Adams, a Democrat, has made it very clear that the federal government that caused this problem, Joseph R. Biden and his cabinet, are doing nothing about it. Nothing that is fixing the problem anyway. But they pretend, as Jean Pierre said today, the White House press secretary, I think the worst one we've ever had. Oh, we are offended that you say we're doing nothing. And they try to blame it on the previous administration. Well, as even Governor Christie knows, President Trump, after fighting relentlessly, was able to build miles and miles of wall, and wanted to build a lot more. But of course, he was replaced in 2020, 2021 by a man who tore down all the safeguards that he had began to implement. And it has caused something so overwhelming and so hard to fix when you tell ICE that they can't do their job. When the cartels bring in people, and there's a system they're using now of just flooding the border, so you couldn't possibly capture them all. Even if you were to arrest them, where would you put them? They have to come in legally. America's always been about legal immigration, but you can't let a whole country, a number of countries, send a massive amount of people, because the country is already overwhelmed and has so many problems, because so many bad choices have been made. Even Democratic progressive cities are complaining that what is happening now is lethal to safety, to the common good of the residents who live in these cities, to the economy, etc. Cities like New York are having to cut their budget tremendously, not allow any more new police officer classes because they had to cut the budget so radically to deal with the immigrant population flooding in. And of course, governors in Florida, DeSantis, Texas, Governor Abbott, and even in Arizona, another hot spot right now where they're flooding in. They are crying out for help. And those calls, those cries, are not being answered. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, Portland, Oregon, Chicago, on and on and on, are in crisis. In Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, robberies are up 68%. 68%. One popular nightclub owner says he has been broken into 5 times so far this year. The robbers have never been so brazen. When people realize that there is not going to be any consequences, when you put in progressive DAs that literally have no appetite to arrest and convict, they tie the hands of the police department. It causes something so out of control that it is almost impossible to fix. It's like these people in charge are deliberately trying to destroy America. In California, the woke DA, Gascon, who should have long been fired by Governor Newsom, appoints a woman to be his chief of staff that wants to close all the prisons, that has said hateful things about the police. She's not going to want them to do their job. Gascon doesn't want them to do their job. So now we see the destruction of San Francisco while Governor Newsom tries to pretend, oh, it's not that bad at all. Of course, when he is coming to town with communist China officials, they clean everything up. And he admits that's exactly what they did. This is a man that could be president. When they tell us just before the Democratic convention that Joseph Biden is no longer up to the job, they don't want Kamala Harris. Does Kamala Harris love America? So they could take those delegates and say, switch your loyalty over to Governor Newsom, and they would be able to accomplish that happening. The shoplifting, the violence, everything locked up in stores, many stores leaving because they have been robbed so many times, shoplifted so many times. Of course, in an evil soul or a poor soul, a hungry soul, when you say there's no consequence to coming in and taking whatever you want, they're going to do it, and they're going to keep doing it. In New York City, New York State Governor Kathy Hochul has done nothing to turn the tide of crime. Oh, she has enacted congestion pricing from 60th Street on down, discouraging people from coming into the city. It can cost you like $300 a week if you are traveling in that area. You'll get your bill in the mail. Parking garages in Midtown say they're going to have a hard time staying open because people are going to find ways to avoid their business, to avoid the congestion pricing. First, you pay a heavy toll to get in New York City, a very heavy toll if you go over the George Washington Bridge. And then you find yourself with additional fines. You find yourself unsafe. You find yourself at risk. And at some point, as so many have done, you start to leave. You say, I've had enough of this. So many people have moved to North Carolina, South Carolina, the state of Florida, of course. And if it wasn't so cold in South Dakota, where there's 20,000 jobs open, according to the great governor, Nome, I suppose their problems would be solved because they're a free state. We have free states now, and we have states that are just, it's like the people running them are from the Y and the Z generation. They have no moral compass. They don't know anything about history. They don't have any desire to serve the people that elected them. They just want to enact an agenda that eventually even they will realize has turned America into a living nightmare. It's just the way it is. And so while Kathy Hochul is focusing on banning the term sanitary napkins, the crime in the subways, the shoplifting, the violence, day and night is in full swing, and the DA is doing really nothing about it. So eventually the police just get so discouraged and they retire early, or if they're new, they say, well, enough of New York and enough of the police department jobs. Same thing in Philadelphia, same thing in Chicago. The electorate so often is just stupid. Look what happened in Chicago. They threw out one outrageously bad mayor and put another one in who's no better. So sad. So sad to see America go down this fast. Oh, we can hope that in 2024 things will at least rebound by a Republican being elected. Depends who that Republican is. I think Nikki Haley would get us in World War III. But more and more people are feeling that we're really in it. We're really in World War III, the start of it, just like we're in the last days. So 2024 is going to be a very challenging year. They're determined to stop Donald Trump one way or another. They make the lives miserable of everyone who worked for him. And just today, 4 unelected judges in the Colorado Supreme Court, all Democrats, of course, passed a law that said, using the 14th Amendment, which was meant for Confederate soldiers, that Donald Trump couldn't be on the ballot in the state of Colorado. So that will go to the Supreme Court now. You're watching this into 2024, you know the result of that. Most people feel it will be overturned, but nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me. The abortion issue will drive people to vote Democratic over that one issue, even though it was turned over to the states, and many states, liberal states, allow abortion all the way up to the time of conception. Shows you the insanity that the human mind produces, the evil that we are capable of. So, God's not going to stop it. The good book says he won't. It's all going to play out. The wages of sin is death. You reap what you sow. That goes for me, and it goes for you, and it goes for a country. Israel, the Holy Land, where Jesus has said that he will come back on the Mount of Olives. We are called to pray for Israel, support Israel, hold Jerusalem up. So if you're wearing a cross, if you call yourself a Christian, and you don't support Israel, then I have to wonder what Bible you're reading. It can't be compared to the Ukraine, which is a bombed out shell. The idea that you can win a war against Vladimir Putin, not unless God wills it. So 200 billion tax dollars wasted, and they just gave Zelensky more. What are we doing? We're broke. Our country is overwhelmed with people crossing the border, and we're giving our money away. We're throwing it away. How much more money can we print? There's not going to be anything left for the grandchildren. We're so sorry. If you're watching this later time, we didn't want this to happen. But the children of the baby boomers turned out to be the most reckless, uninformed, uneducated generation, with some wonderful exceptions. So you can have peaceful protests from Palestinian students or those sympathetic to the cause. But when it turns to destruction, when it turns to blocking people from going about their daily lives, invading personal property, destroying personal property, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Nobody, well, certainly I don't want to see children bombed in Gaza. I do believe that what the United States has always had a practice of, which is not to bomb indiscriminately, is very important. That's why ground troops in Gaza are safer than rockets and missiles. It's fair to say that's wrong, that a family was blown up in Gaza. Now, studies show 85% of the people in Gaza support Hamas that committed tragedies and atrocities on October 7th. But there's no doubt that Israel has the right to try to eliminate Hamas. They are ruthless, evil, soulless killers. But we have a country here in America that is now filled with soulless people. People running the government that couldn't run a shoe store. And we need to be in prayer about this. And we need to say something when we can, because this is our country. Those of you watching in America, the greatest country we believe in the world, and it has terminal cancer right now. Can we find a cure? Can we find a cure? My personal email is jackthefairguy, F-A-I-R, jackthefairguy @gmail.com. The channel is the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned. Please check out all our videos here. We certainly span the gamut. This has been the first episode of Countdown to the End of Democracy.